breathe in slowly, and now exhale gently. The world slows down with the rhythm of your breath. Tonight, we embark on a journey not to distant lands, but to the whispered memories of humanity's shared past. We are not alone on this path. The ancient trees stand sentinel beside us. The stars hang low and watchful, like the eyes of our ancestors, gently blinking from the heavens. The fire hums softly. The wind carries the scent of earth and forgotten stories, and in the silence between our words, you may hear the distant echoes of footsteps on cobblestone streets, of laughter in bustling marketplaces, of songs sung through the ages. Let's pause here for a moment. The fire crackles softly, and we rest beneath the starlit sky. Our tale begins in a world where progress and tradition danced a delicate waltz. In the bustling cities of the Industrial Revolution and across the rolling fields of rural landscapes, in the grand halls of innovation and discovery, men and women rose before dawn to work under skies that held both promise and uncertainty. They were dreamers and builders, architects of the future, and beneath their calloused hands, a truth not recorded in the history books of the time, a truth of aching muscles, whispered hopes, and minds racing with possibilities yet unseen. But this is not merely a story of toil. It is also a tale of visionaries who challenged conventions, of laboratories that hummed with the language of progress, of families who gathered around newfangled devices, marveling at the wonders of their age, and of captains of industry, perched in towering offices, their fortunes built on the sweat and ingenuity of many. Let's pause here for a moment. The leaves rustle gently, and the fire dims low. You are safe in this space. Let time slow to a gentle trickle. Let the world beyond fade away. We will guide you tenderly through triumph and tribulation, through innovation and tradition, through a past that still echoes in the hum of machines and the whispers of change. Tonight, under this canopy of stars, we remember, we reflect, we reimagine. The air grows thick with anticipation. Can you feel it? The weight of countless stories waiting to be told. In the distance, a train whistle pierces the night, the rhythmic clatter of wheels on tracks, a heartbeat of progress pulsing through the land. Close your eyes for a moment. Breathe in the scent of coal and steam, of ink-stained paper and polished brass. Let your mind wander to a time of great change, when the world seemed to spin faster with each passing day. We stand at the crossroads of history, where the old ways meet the new, where candlelight gives way to electric gleam, and horse-drawn carriages share streets with awe. Can you hear the voices? The excited chatter in coffee houses, where ideas spark and spread like wildfire. The steady hum of factories, forging the future with every turn of the gears. Feel the pulse of a world in transformation. The ground trembles beneath our feet, not with fear, but with the vibrations of possibility. In this moment, we are both observers and participants, witnesses to the birth of a new era and architects of the world to come. Let the stories wash over you, of inventors working through the night, their minds ablaze with visions of tomorrow, of immigrants stepping onto unfamiliar shores, hearts full of hope and pockets empty of all but dreams, of children peering through shop windows, eyes wide at marvels their parents never knew. We are the keepers of these tales, the guardians of memory and imagination. In our words, the past comes alive, and the future takes shape. So, settle in, dear listener. Let the warmth of the fire embrace you. Let the stars above be your guide. For tonight, we journey through time and possibility. We celebrate the human spirit in all its complexity and wonder. Are you ready? Take a deep breath. Feel the weight of history on your shoulders and the lightness of potential in your heart. Let's begin. The morning air hung heavy, with the scent of spice-rich, sticky, and slightly sweet. On the wind-swept slopes of Madagascar, where the sky blushed violet just before dawn, rows of clove trees stood like silent sentinels, their fragrance a constant companion. Beneath their rustling leaves, barefoot workers bent low, their bodies still aching from yesterday's toil. Every breath carried both the perfume of cloves and the weight of unending exhaustion. Let us begin here, in this land of fertile soil and silent suffering, a place where every harvest bore both beauty and brutality. This was not the paradise the colonizers painted in their letters home. It was a world of sweat, sickness, and submission, a world where dreams withered under the relentless tropical sun. By the time we reach the end of this tale, you'll understand what it truly meant to wake each morning as a Malagasy clove picker with blistered hands, shattered hopes, and no clear path to freedom. This is a story etched in the very earth, a narrative that lingers in the air like the persistent aroma of cloves themselves. The year is 1802. The soil of Madagascar is volcanic, fertile, and red so deeply crimson that it stains your feet for days. A constant reminder of the land's power and your place upon it, the French have carved much of the island's coastal regions into vast plantation zones, transforming lush forests into orderly rows of spice-bearing trees. And for cloves, those sweet-smelling, high-demand labor, hungry cloves there needed strong hands, not French hands. No, Swahili captives, torn from distant shores, Malagasy villagers uprooted from their ancestral lands, and debt-ridden, indentured servants became the unwilling backbone of this fragrant empire. But here's the hidden truth, whispered in the rustling leaves and carried on the spice-laden breeze. Clove picking sounds romantic, conjuring images of sun-dappled groves and gentle work. It was anything but. Each day began well before the first hint of dawn touched the eastern sky. Workers were roused from fitful slumber, given a single wooden bowl of watery rice gruel, and told to march toward the groves with empty sacks slung across their shoulders. The branches stretched high above. The work was mind-numbingly repetitive, and the demand was as unrelenting as the tide. Picture this, rows upon rows of trees, their branches heavy with tiny, unopened flower buds. These buds, each no larger than your smallest fingernail, are the prize. They must be plucked at precisely the right moment, when their oils are most potent. Too early, and the flavor is weak. Too late, and they're worthless. The pressure to harvest perfectly, quickly, endlessly, weighs as heavily as the tropical heat. Unlike sugarcane, which bruised your skin and left you sticky with juice, or cotton, which drained your back and filled your lungs with choking fibers, cloves assaulted your very senses. The oil in the buds would seep into your fingers, staining them a deep, rich brown, and drying the skin until it cracked and bled. Imagine this happening every single day for weeks on end with no gloves, no shoes, no respite from the sun or the demand for more, always more. The scent you might now find calming in candles or comforting in a steaming cup of chai. That aroma became overwhelming after hours under a sun that offered no mercy. It clogged your nose, coated your skin, and turned your stomach to the point where many lost their appetite entirely. The very air you breathed became thick with it, until you could taste cloves with every inhalation, until it seemed to seep into your very bones. And the punishment for slowing down, brutal beyond measure. Overseers, their skin pale and unmarked by the work they demanded of others, carried leather whips. These weren't ordinary whips, no. They were dipped in salt water to sting more, to remind you with every lash that spice wealth came at a terrible cost. Your cost. Women and children were not spared this cruelty. In fact, Small fingers were often prized for harvesting delicate buds faster, and some plantation bosses preferred to hire or enslave young teens for this exact reason. Childhood ended the moment you could reach a branch. There were no clocks in the groves, no measure of time save the arc of the sun across the sky. You picked until the sacks were full, until your arms ached so badly you could barely lift them, until the sun finally, mercifully, dropped behind the majestic baobab trees in the distance. Only then could you stumble back to what passed for shelter, your body bent and broken by the day's labor. At night, you shared tiny sleeping huts with others whose names you might never learn, for tomorrow they could be gone sold, fallen ill, or worse. The smell of cloves lingered on your skin so deeply it became part of your breath. No matter how hard you scrubbed with rough sand or precious scraps of cloth, it wouldn't fade. And some say that by the 3rd month on a clove farm, even your dreams smelled like spice and pain. Sleep offered little true rest, for your mind knew the dawn would bring only more of the same. But here's the final, bitter irony that clung to every bud you picked. Cloves were luxury items in Europe. They flavored meats in the finest restaurants, scented perfumes worn by ladies of high society, even found their way into medicines prescribed by fashionable doctors. And yet, the hands that harvested them, your hands, were unpaid, unnamed, and unseen. Your labor, your pain, your very existence was invisible to those who savored the fruits of your toil. In the quiet moments, as the night insects hummed and distant animal calls echoed through the trees, you might have wondered, how did I come to be here? What twists of fate or cruel machinations of men led to this life of endless toil? For some, it was the misfortune of being born in the wrong place at the wrong time. For others, it was debt, desperation, or deception that brought them to these shores. But for all, the result was the same days that blurred into weeks, into months, into years of backbreaking labor under an unforgiving sun. And yet, even in this world of hardship and sorrow, the human spirit found ways to endure. In hushed tones after nightfall, stories were shared, tales of home, of freedom, of a world beyond the clove groves. Songs were sung softly, melodies carried on the breeze, a reminder of cultures and identities that could not be stripped away. Small acts of kindness, a shared scrap of food, a warning whisper when overseers approached became lifelines in a sea of suffering. Some dreamed of escape, their eyes fixed on the distant horizon where sea met sky. Others clung to hope that one day, somehow, this cruel system would crumble, and a brave few dared to resist in ways both small and large, knowing that the price of defiance could be terrible indeed. As the sky begins to lighten once more, painting the world in shades of lavender and gold, we pause. Imagine waking up tomorrow to a life where your every breath smells like the product of your own suffering. Could you still smile, still sing, still believe that freedom was a future worth fighting for? This is the legacy of the clove pickers, testament to human resilience in the face of unimaginable hardship. Their story is woven into the very fabric of history, as complex and bittersweet as the spice they harvest. It reminds us that behind every luxury, every convenience we take for granted, there are often unseen hands and untold stories of struggle. As we breathe in the scent of cloves today, let us remember those who came before. Let their strength be a call to action, a reminder that the fight for justice and dignity is far from over. For in understanding their past, we gain the power to shape a more equitable future, one where the sweetness of spice is not tainted by the bitterness of exploitation. The morning mist had barely lifted when the clang of bells and the bark of overseers echoed across the hills of Île Bourbon. Malagasy men and women, their eyes still heavy from restless sleep, trudged toward the fields where the clove trees waited. Cloaked in humidity and haze, these trees were both lifeline and curse, tall, fragrant symbols of both survival and servitude. The scent of cloves was thick in the air, almost sweet enough to deceive the senses. But for the pickers, it masked something deeper. The salt of sweat, the ache of strained limbs, the raw sting of infection in hands torn by days of climbing and plucking. The branches reached high, and many pickers, barefoot and weary, tied strips of cloth around their feet and ankles before scaling the trees, like ghosts clinging to hope. One misstep meant injury, a bruised limb, a lash. The fields seemed endless. Neat rows curved down valleys and upslopes like some cruel geometry of empire. Overseers, often Creole or colonial born, rode slowly on horseback, their boots glistening, their eyes narrowed beneath broad-brimmed hats. To them, time was a ledger, a body was a unit. A worker's worth was measured in sacks, filled, not breaths taken. Let's pause here for a moment. The fire crackles softly, and we rest beneath the stars. A young Malagasy woman with a head wrap and calloused hands climbs high in a clove tree. The early morning sun catches the sweat on her brow, turning it to liquid gold. Her eyes, though weary, hold a quiet determination. She reaches for another cluster of buds, her movements practiced and precise. The midday heat descended like a wet cloth over the plantation. Sunlight pierced through banana fronds, igniting halos around the heads of the workers below. The scent of cloves grew overwhelming by noon, spicy and intoxicating, yet strangely oppressive. Some fainted, others murmured songs under their breath, not to celebrate but to stay conscious. Ancestral rhythms sung through cracked lips. There was no drinking fountain, no shade generous enough. A clay jug of warm water may be shared among 20. Food, if it came, was simple, boiled rice, sometimes lentils, rarely meat. It was often eaten, crouched in silence beside the trees. Laughter was not forbidden, but it was uncommon, not because they lacked joy. Malagasy people carried entire histories in their smiles, but because exhaustion smothered it. Let's take a slow breath here, and let the scent of clove drift into the silence. A wide shot reveals 19th century plantation fields on island. Malagasy workers in ragged shirts move slowly between trees under the heavy sun. Their silhouettes blend with the landscape, as if the island itself were burdened by their toil. Disease was the quiet killer. The clove plantations were not just farms, they were swamps of fever and ailment. Mosquitoes bred in the standing water, in the irrigation ditches and puddles left by tropical rain. Malaria was rampant. Dysentery stole lives in the night. Sometimes someone would simply not rise in the morning. Their hammock would swing quietly, alone. Others would pause briefly to mourn, then return to the field. There was little choice. Many were indentured, bound by contracts they could not read, signed by hands desperate to escape famine or war in Madagascar. Others were enslaved in all but name, captured from villagers or sold by chiefs complicit in colonial trade. A few had been born on the island, children of previous workers, and knew nothing beyond the clove fields, the coughs of elders, and the sharp snap of plantation whistles. A dim, candlelit shack with a dirt floor comes into view. A sick Malagasy man lies on a woven mat, attended by a barefoot teenage girl holding a calabash of water. The flickering light casts long shadows, and the air is thick with the scent of illness and clove. Let's pause again. The night breeze moves through the trees, and you can almost hear the whispers of ancestors. Evenings arrived, not with peace, but with a new routine of sorting, drying, and bundling the cloves. The day's pickings were spread out on flat woven trays or mats to be dried by moonlight and early sun. The air still carried the scent, now sharper, almost medicinal. Hands moved slowly now, trembling from fatigue. Still, the clove had to be perfect. Any spoilage meant punishment, reduced rations, or even solitary confinement in stone storehouses where no air moved. And yet, within all this hardship, there were sparks of resilience. A lullaby sung in secret, a gesture of shared food, a whispered story passed between generations. Remembering the highlands of Madagascar, the way the mist rolled over Antananarivo at dawn, or how the baobab looked against the sky, these small acts, repeated in the shadows of empire, became the roots of survival. They were the clove pickers' rebellion. Quiet, invisible, and unstoppable. Let's rest here. Feel the coals of the fire glow, slow and red. The story continues under the stars. An elderly Malagasy woman in a red lamba robe sits near a fire, holding a wooden prayer staff. She whispers to a young girl with wide eyes, passing down the wisdom of generations. The firelight dances across their faces, illuminating a bond that transcends the hardships of their daily lives. As night deepens, the plantation falls into an uneasy quiet. The clove trees stand sentinel, their branches reaching toward a sky studded with unfamiliar stars. In the workers' quarters, bodies ache for rest, but minds remain restless. Dreams of home, of freedom, of a life beyond the fields, flicker like fireflies in the darkness. The air grows cooler, carrying whispers of the Indian Ocean. It's a reminder of the vast distances that separate these workers from their ancestral lands. Yet in this moment of stillness, memories of Madagascar feel close enough to touch. The red earth of the highlands, the song of the Indri Lima at dawn, the comforting weight of family gathered around a shared meal. Some nights, when the moon is full and the overseers are far away, the oldest among them tell stories. Tales of Malagasy kings and queens, of spirits that dwell in sacred groves, of clever Aikatofitsi and Imahaka outwitting their oppressors. These stories are more than entertainment. They are lifelines, tethering the workers to an identity that cannot be uprooted or sold. In the pridden hours, before the bells and whistles shatter the peace, there's a moment of collective breath. Hundreds of souls, bound by shared struggle, inhale the clove-scented air. It's in this breath that hope is born, anew, fragile but persistent as a seedling pushing through cracked earth. The cycle begins again as the eastern sky lightens. Bodies rise, stiff and sore, to face another day among the clove trees. But something intangible has shifted. In the quiet exchanges of glances, in the subtle squeeze of a hand, there's a current of strength that flows beneath the surface of their subjugation. As the first rays of sun touch the treetops, turning leaves to gold, we witness the true alchemy of Île Bourbon. It's not in the spices that will flavor distant kitchens, but in the unbreakable spirit of those who tend the trees. Their labor may be forced, but their dignity is freely given, a silent defiance against the machinery of empire. The clove pickers move into the fields once more, their shadows long in the early light. Today, like yesterday, will be marked by sweat and struggle. But today, like every day, will also carry the quiet promise of change. A promise as potent and enduring as the very spice they harvest. Let's hold this image as our story pauses. The pickers ascending into the trees, silhouetted against the rising sun. Their hands reach for the cloves, but their hearts reach for something far greater, where the scent of these fields will no longer be tinged with sorrow. The fire has burned low now, its embers pulsing with a slow, steady heartbeat. As we sit in the gentle darkness, let the weight of this history settle around us. Feel the persistence of human spirit in the face of oppression. Hear the whispered songs of resistance carried on the night air. Our tale of the clove fields of Île Bourbon is but one thread in the vast tapestry of human experience. It reminds us that even in the darkest corners of history, hope and resilience bloom like flowers pushing through cracks in stone. As we rise from our circle and prepare to face our own days, may we carry with us the strength of those who came before. Those who found ways to nurture their souls, even as their bodies labored. The stars are fading now, giving way to the first blush of dawn. Soon, the plantation will awaken to another day of toil. But for now, in this moment of transition, we hold space for the countless stories yet untold, the voices that echo through time, reminding us of our shared humanity and the enduring power of the human spirit. The clove fields at dawn held a strange kind of beauty, quiet, warm, and heavy with the perfume of spice. But beneath that fragrant air, a harder truth lingered. The beauty was a veil, and the clove mist covered more than just leaves. It covered bruises, it hid pain, and it swallowed the cries that never reached the ears of the men in Creoman. Let us step deeper now, into the shaded corners of the plantation, where stories were whispered rather than spoken aloud. Let's pause here for a moment. The fire crackles softly, and we rest beneath the stars. In the soft light of early morning, the plantation awakens. Malagasy women, their bodies wrapped in simple woven cloths, emerge from the mist like ghosts. They walk barefoot, heads bowed under the weight of their baskets and the burden of their lives. The fog clings to their ankles, as if trying to hold them back, but still they move forward, for they have no choice. The air is thick with more than just the scent of cloves. It carries whispers, secrets, and the weight of unspoken sorrows. As the women make their way through the fields, we begin to see the invisible lines that divide them. Lines as real as the rows of clove trees, yet far more insidious. In the fields, workers moved as one, but there were quiet divides among them. Malagasy workers often came from different regions. The highland Marina, proud of their ancient kingdoms, the coastal Betsimisaraka with their connection to the sea. The Sakalava, descendants of powerful coastal kings, each group brought with them different languages, rituals, and sometimes old rivalries that ran as deep as the roots of the clove trees themselves. The overseers, ever watchful, saw these differences not as a rich tapestry of culture, but as a tool to be exploited. They appointed head pickers from among the workers, a role that granted minor privilege in return for policing others. It was a bitter position, one that tasted of ashes and betrayal. Many took it reluctantly, forced to scold their own kin or report those who had slowed down from exhaustion. Imagine the weight of that responsibility, to stand between your people and the lash, knowing that your words could bring relief or punishment. The head pickers moved through the mist like shadows, their eyes downcast, their hearts heavy with the choices they were forced to make each day. Let's pause here for a moment. The fire crackles softly, and we rest beneath the stars. The dividendral tactic was subtle, but it worked with cruel efficiency. It isolated workers from organizing, from rebellion, from the comfort of true solidarity, and in doing so, it fractured the one thing they needed most: unity. The plantation became a place of whispers and sidelong glances, where trust was as rare and precious as a day of rest. Yet not all resistance was physical. Deep in the Clove forests, far from the eyes of the overseers, workers performed rituals that connected them to a world beyond the plantation's boundaries. Small offerings of dried fish and rice were left at the base of trees believed to house ancestral spirits. These were more than mere superstition. They were acts of defiance, reminders that the workers' souls could not be owned or traded like the spices they harvested. Women hummed songs under their breath, lullabies disguised as protest songs, melodies that spoke of freedom and distant homelands. They braided messages into hair, each intricate pattern a code that spoke of resistance and hope. They passed down memories with every meal cooked over a shared fire, seasoning their food with stories of who they were before the plantation claimed them. And at night, when the work was done and the overseers retreated to their comfortable houses, stories flickered to life like embers. Tales of kings who would one day rise again, of ancestors who watched silently from the mist, and of a day when the clove trees would bloom for the Malagasy alone. These were not just stories. They were acts of survival. Soft rebellions that reminded each person that they were more than a name on a harvest list. They were children of the land, descendants of island kingdoms, and they had not forgotten. Let's pause here for a moment. The fire crackles softly, and we rest beneath the stars. As the night deepens, we see a small gathering of women and children huddled around a fire. Shadows dance on their faces, etching lines of both weariness and determination. An elder speaks in hushed tones, her voice carrying the weight of generations. She tells a story in the local dialect, words flowing like water, nourishing the parched souls of her listeners. For a moment, they are no longer on a plantation. They are home, surrounded by the spirits of their ancestors, free, but the dawn always comes, and with it, the harsh realities of plantation life. In the heart of the humid months, when mosquitoes ruled the night, entire rows of workers would disappear. Malaria struck with cruel randomness, caring nothing for age or strength. Diarrhea, fever, lung infections. They took the old first, then the weak, then the unlucky. There was no doctor, only quinine, and it was expensive, reserved for the French. If a worker fell ill, they were marked, not to be healed, but to be replaced. Some were sent to crude huts at the edge of the plantation to either recover alone or quietly perish. No ceremony, no marker. Many never returned. The field lines would simply shift the next day, closing ranks over the spaces where people once stood, as if they had never existed at all. In a dark hut with open walls, a weathered Malagasy man lies feverish, his body racked with chills. Beside him, a young woman, perhaps his daughter, pours water slowly from a gourd. Her eyes are reed-rimmed with exhaustion and unshed tears. She knows that her father's fate rests not in her hands, but in the whims of overseers who see him as nothing more than a line in a ledger. Let's pause here for a moment. The fire crackles softly, and we rest beneath the stars. By the 1830s, cloves were one of the most lucrative exports from. The spice brought wealth and prestige to merchants and plantation owners, its delicate aroma gracing the finest tables of Europe. But no ledger accounted for the human lives lost in the process. No spice merchant calculated the broken backs, the grieving mothers, or the unmarked graves tucked beneath clove trees. And yet, those workers left something behind. Their sweat still lingers in the bark of ancient trees. Their fingerprints still mark the baskets passed down through generations. Their breath, carried by the humid wind, still speaks through the leaves, whispering stories of resilience and hope. If you listen, not just with your ears, but with your spirit, you might still hear their names. They echo in the rustle of leaves, In the creak of branches, heavy with buds, they are carried on the scent of cloves that still perfumes the air. A reminder that every spice has a story, and every harvest has a human cost. Let's pause here for a moment. The fire crackles softly, and we rest beneath the stars. As the mist begins to lift, revealing the vastness of the plantation, we see a hand reaching out to touch the rough bark of a tall clove tree. Fingers trace the grooves and scars, each one a testament to years of harvests, of lives spent in service to the spice trade. Morning light filters through the branches, turning droplets of dew into tiny prisms. For a moment, the plantation is transformed. No longer a place of toil and sorrow, but a cathedral of green and gold, alive with memory and possibility. Before we leave the fields, let us offer a moment of silence, not for the plantation owners, nor the merchants in their tall hats, but for the workers, barefoot and bent, hands blistered, hearts full of stories never told. They did not disappear. They became the soil, the leaves, the scent that wafts from every bottle of spice sold in distant lands, and through this remembrance they rise again. Not as property, but as people. Their legacy lives on in every clove bud, in every spice-laden breeze. They are the unsung heroes of a global trade, their names forgotten, but their impact eternal. As we step away from the plantation, the mist closing behind us like a curtain, we carry with us the weight of their stories. We have glimpsed a world where beauty and brutality walked hand in hand, where the sweet scent of spice masked the bitter taste of oppression. Let us remember them, not as faceless laborers, but as individuals with dreams, fears, and an unbreakable spirit. For in remembering, we honor their sacrifice and ensure that their stories, like the fragrant clove itself, will continue to touch lives far beyond the boundaries of time and place. Let's pause here for a moment. The fire crackles softly, and we rest beneath the stars. Before you even touch a clove, you touch the soil in the soft light of dawn. As mist rolls gently across the landscape, your bare feet meet the earth. It's a moment of connection, of reverence. To the untrained eye, this soil might appear ordinary, a canvas of red and black, occasionally threaded with veins of white clay. But to those who have learned from the elders, this earth holds so much more. It cradles the memories of generations, having tasted the blood of ancestors and absorbed the rains of centuries past. This soil has nurtured not just cloves, but bananas, cassava, and trees that whisper ancient prayers. You do not tread heavily here. Each step is a gentle greeting, a quiet conversation with the land beneath you. In the morning, as the world awakens, you speak to the soil, acknowledging its presence and power. In northern Madagascar, particularly around the Sambava region, there exists a profound spiritual bond between the people and their land. This connection shapes every aspect of clove cultivation. The forest is not a resource to be conquered or exploited. It is an elder, a wise and temperamental relative deserving of the utmost respect. The act of harvesting cloves doesn't begin with tools or techniques, but with rituals that honor this sacred relationship. As you walk deeper into the grove, the air grows thick with a heady aroma of cloves. Children, taught from a young age, move quietly among the trees. Their hushed voices are barely audible above the gentle rustling of leaves. It's said that loud noises might disturb the spirits that slumber within the ancient trunks. The very scent of cloves is believed to carry messages not just to distant traders or eager cooks, but to the ancestors who rest nearby. Their presence a constant comfort and guide. Before the harvest can begin, a time-honored tradition unfolds. A village elder, often a woman renowned for her healing touch and powerful prayers, embarks on a sacred journey. Barefoot, she traces the boundaries of the grove, her steps slow and deliberate. In her wake, she leaves small offerings, a handful of rice scattered here, crushed ginger sprinkled there, perhaps a single coin nestled within a carefully carved calabash. These are not payments in the traditional sense. They are gentle reminders to the unseen forces that watch over the land. We are still here. We remain your children. We humbly ask for your blessing and permission. As the elder completes her circuit, the first light of day breaks through the canopy, casting dappled shadows across the forest floor. The air is alive with possibility, with the promise of a bountiful harvest to come. But even as the pickers prepare their baskets and ready their hands for the day's work, there is a palpable sense of something greater at play. Many of these sacred rituals emerged during the darkest chapters of Madagascar's history, when French colonists seized control of the clove fields and imposed brutal quotas on Malagasy workers. Families found solace and strength in the soil. Their pain, too vast for words, was buried in silent sand in the earth itself. A single clove tree can live for more than 80 years, bearing witness to the ebb and flow of human affairs. These trees remember. They were planted by great-grandfathers who set sail from the port, never to return. They were tended by daughters whose sons were torn away to fight in distant wars not of their making. In times of conquest, rebellion, and famine, the groves became sanctuary places, where resistance took root through acts of quiet, persistent care. For those who work among the cloves, harvesting is far more than mere labor. It is a form of mourning with purpose, a way to honor the sacrifices of those who came before. Each bud plucked is a testament to survival, to the enduring spirit of a people who refuse to be uprooted from their land and their traditions. As the morning progresses, families gather beneath the spreading branches of the clove trees. Their clothing, though simple, speaks of a rich cultural heritage. Soft light filters through the leaves, illuminating faces etched with both joy and sorrow. There is laughter as children learn the art of harvesting from their elders, but also moments of quiet reflection as hands that have known hardship gently coax the precious buds from their stems. One of the most poignant rituals, still practiced in some rural areas today, is the act of walking the first rows of the grove barefoot before the harvest begins. This is not done for luck or spectacle. It is a profound gesture of connection, allowing the first touch of skin to meet the earth without barrier or pretense. Older harvesters, their faces lined with wisdom, will tell you with quiet conviction, the soil listens better when you leave your shoes behind. In a world increasingly dominated by machinery, commerce, and exploitation, this simple act becomes a form of quiet rebellion. It is a way of saying, before I carry the cloves, I carry the memory of all that has come before. As you stand at the edge of the grove, preparing to begin your day's work, take a moment to truly feel the earth beneath your feet. Let the cool dampness of morning dew seep into your skin. Feel the texture of the soil, sometimes smooth, sometimes gritty, and imagine the countless footsteps that have trodden this same path before you. What would change in your life if the ground you walked upon each day was not just dirt, but living memory? How might your perspective shift if every task, no matter how mundane, began not with thoughts of profit or productivity, but with a humble request for permission? As the sun climbs higher in the sky, casting its warmth across the grove, allow these questions to settle in your mind. Let them take root alongside the clove trees, growing and evolving with each passing season. For in this place, time moves differently. The boundaries between past and present blur, and the whispers of ancestors mingle with the rustling leaves overhead. The harvest awaits, but there is no need to rush. Here, in this sacred space, every movement is a form of meditation. As you reach for the first clove bud, let your fingers brush against the rough bark of the tree. Feel the life pulsing beneath its surface. reminder that you are part of something far greater than yourself. With each clove gathered, you are not just collecting a spice. You are preserving a legacy, honoring a tradition that has weathered centuries of change. The weight of the basket on your arm becomes a comfort, a tangible connection to generations of harvesters who came before. As the day wears on and the heat of the sun intensifies, find solace in the shade of the ancient trees. Listen closely, and you might hear the faint echoes of long-ago laughter, of songs sung to ease the labor of picking. These groves hold not just cloves, but story stales of resilience, of love, of loss, and of hope that refuses to be extinguished. When at last the sun begins its descent, painting the sky in hues of orange and pink, take a moment to survey the fruits of your labor. The baskets, now heavy with fragrant cloves, represent more than just a day's work. They are a testament to the enduring bond between people and land, a bridge between past and future. As you prepare to leave the grove, pause once more at its edge. Feel the soil beneath your feet, cool now in the fading light. Whisper a word of thanks to the trees, to the earth, to those who walked this path before you. For in this sacred place, you are never truly alone. The memories of countless harvests, of joys and sorrows shared, linger in the very air you breathe. And, as you make your way home, the scent of cloves clinging to your skin, carry with you the knowledge that you are part of an unbroken chain, a living link in a story that stretches back through time and forward into a future yet For as long as there are those who remember, who honor the old ways, the spirit of the clove groves will endure, a quiet testament to the power of memory, respect, and the enduring connection between people and the land they call home. Let us turn now from the fields and climb upward into the highland fog, where palace stone meets the pulse of rebellion. In the year 1828, when many empires sought to swallow the world, Madagascar crowned a woman who refused to be devoured. Her name was Ranavalona I, and her rule was not written in whispers. It was carved in iron and fire. She did not inherit a peaceful kingdom. No, she inherited a fragile throne, one step away from being a French puppet. The Europeans had already arrived with Bibles in one hand and muskets in the other, but Ranavalona looked them in the eye and said, "Not here, not now." The mist clings to the highlands, shrouding the palace in a veil of mystery. Can you see her there, seated upon her stone throne? Her eyes, dark and unyielding, scan the horizon for threats both seen and unseen. The weight of her crown, adorned with the jewels of her ancestors, rests heavy upon her brow. But Ranavalona's spine remains straight, unbowed by the burdens of rule. She'll shut the doors of the kingdom to foreign influence. She expelled missionaries, banned Christianity, and tore out the roots of European religion before they could grow too deep. Her reign was isolationist, unbending, and to her critics, cruel. But to understand her, you must imagine a queen who stood between her people and the tide of colonization. She saw what had happened elsewhere, in South Africa, in West Africa, across the oceans. She knew that the handshake of Europe often came with a knife hidden in the sleeve. The crackling fire casts dancing shadows upon the walls of the royal chamber. Outside, the wind whispers through the trees, carrying tales of lands far beyond Madagascar's shores. Ranavalona listens, her ears attuned to the dangers that lurk in those distant murmurs. So she built walls, not just around the palace, around the culture, around the language, around the soul of Madagascar. And yet, her methods drew blood. Thousands died under her trials by ordeal. Christians were executed. Political enemies were thrown from cliffs. Those who whispered change were met with silence. The deadly kind, In the village below, women gather in hushed circles, their eyes darting nervously towards the palace on the hill. They speak in low tones of the Queen's latest decree, of neighbors who vanished in the night, of the price of descent in Ranavalona's realm. Let's pause here for a moment. The fire crackles softly, and we rest beneath the stars. The night sky above Madagascar is a tapestry of countless pinpricks of light, each star a silent witness to the unfolding drama below. Do they judge the actions of mortals, these celestial observers? Or do they simply watch, impassive, as history writes itself in blood and tears upon the earth? To the Malagasy nobility, she was the protector of tradition. To the missionaries, she was the devil in a silk lamba. But history is not made by saints. It is made by those who carry knives when others offer prayers. In the royal courtyard, guards in crimson uniforms stand at attention, their spears glinting in the torchlight. They are the physical manifestation of Ranavalona's will, the iron fist that crushes opposition. Yet even they cannot help but shudder when they hear the screams echoing from the dungeons below. And Queen Ranavalona I. She ruled for 33 years, not because she was loved, not because she was feared, but because she knew something most rulers forget, that survival in the age of empires sometimes comes wrapped in thorns. The mist thickens as night deepens, blanketing the land in a soft, deceptive embrace. It muffles sounds, obscures sights, and lends an air of unreality to the world. In this ethereal landscape, it becomes easier to understand how a queen might lose herself in the labyrinth of power and paranoia. Ranavalona paces the halls of her palace, her footsteps echoing through empty corridors. The weight of her decisions hangs heavy in the air, a palpable presence that follows her like a shadow. She pauses at a window, gazing out at the land she has sworn to protect. In the distance, the first hints of dawn begin to paint the sky. As the sun rises, it illuminates a kingdom caught between two worlds. The old ways of Madagascar, its customs, its beliefs, its very essence, stand in stark defiance against the encroaching tide of European influence. And at the center of it all stands Ranavalona, a figure both revered and reviled, the embodiment of a nation's struggle for identity. The morning mist begins to lift, revealing the lush green expanse of the Malagasy highlands. Villagers dot the landscape, their thatched roofs glistening with dew. From these humble dwellings rise tendrils of smoke, carrying with them the scent of cooking fires and the promise of a new day. But even in this moment of tranquility, tension simmers beneath the surface. For in Ranavalona's Madagascar, every sunrise brings with it the possibility of change, and the threat of retribution for those who dare to embrace it. In the marketplace, whispers circulate like currency. Tales of the Queen's latest edicts, of strangers spotted on the coast, of omens and portents that speak of troubled times ahead. The people go about their daily lives, but always with one eye cast warily towards the palace on the hill. And what of those who have felt the sting of Ranavalona's rule most keenly? The converts who cling to their forbidden faith in secret, gathering in hidden places to whisper prayers to a god their queen has banished. The families of the disappeared, who wake each morning with the hollow ache of loss gnawing at their hearts. Yet even among these sufferers, there are those who understand, or think they understand, the harsh calculus of Ranavalona's reign. For they too have heard the stories of lands across the sea, where ancient cultures crumble beneath the weight of foreign boots and foreign ideas. As the day wears on, the Queen holds court. Nobles in fine silks and gleaming jewelry bow before her throne, their faces masks of deference that hide a multitude of ambitions and resentments. Ranavalona listens to their petitions, her expression unreadable, her decisions swift and final. In this moment, she is every inch the ruler she has molded herself to be. Strong, unbending, a bulwark against the storms that threaten to engulf her nation. But in the quiet corners of her mind, does doubt ever creep in? Does she ever question the path she has chosen, the price she has exacted from her people in the name of independence? The sun begins its descent, casting long shadows across the land, in villages and towns, in the palace and in hidden rebel camps. The people of Madagascar prepare for another night under Ranavalona's rule. Some pray for her long life and continued strength. Others pray for deliverance from her iron grip. And somewhere in the gathering darkness, a lone figure stands at the edge of a cliff. Perhaps it is a dissident, contemplating the fatal consequences of resistance. Or maybe it is the Queen herself, gazing out at the vast expanse of her domain and wondering if the walls she has built will be enough to hold back the tide of history. As night falls once more, the mist returns, wrapping the island in its cool embrace. The stars emerge, twinkling silently in the vast expanse above, and in the heart of Madagascar, in a palace built on tradition and defended by fear, Queen Ranavalona prepares to face another day of rule, another day of difficult decisions and unforgiving choices, for she knows, as surely as the sun will rise, that her crown of thorns is not just a symbol of her power, but a necessity of her time. In a world where empires hunger for new lands to devour, Madagascar stands alone, protected not by the love of its people, but by the unyielding will of its queen. And so, as we drift into slumber beneath these same stars that watch over Ranavalona's realm, let us ponder the nature of power, the price of freedom, and the complex legacy of those who shape history with blood-stained hands. For in the tale of the Queen of Thorns, we find not just the story of one woman or one nation, but a reflection of the eternal struggle between preservation and progress, between the safety of isolation and the perilous promise of change. The fire has burned low now, its embers glowing softly in the night. As sleep beckons, we leave behind the misty highlands of Madagascar, the echoing halls of Ranavalona's palace, and the whispered fears of her subject, but the questions raised by her reign linger, as persistent as the morning fog, inviting us to look deeper into the shadows of our own world and the choices we make in the name of survival. Breathe in, slowly now. Can you smell it? The scent of wild lemongrass crushed under bare feet, the rustle of long speargrass swaying in the hills, and in the distance, the hum of songs, old songs, carried by a wind that remembers. This is not the world of queens or soldiers. This is the hidden Madagascar, the soul that stayed quiet while the world fought over its crown, because beneath every throne and every forge, there are people, ordinary people, and they, too, were keepers of power, not the kind made of metal or decree, but the kind made of memory. Here in the Central Highlands, women gathered herbs that only the ancestors could name. Midwives whispered protection charms as babies entered the world. Elders spat chewed bark into palm wine and called it medicine. Not because they read it in books, but because the land had told them so. There were no cameras, no scripts, no archives, but the rhythm of life beat on plant, harvest, dance, berry bless. Even as queens passed and colonizers crept closer, this hidden world remained, a pulse beneath the empire. The real crown of Madagascar, it may never have been golden. It may have lived in the calluses of hands that chopped cassava, in the mouths of griots who never left their valley, in the footsteps of barefoot children who knew which stones would sing when kicked, and in the speargrass, which always swayed in the wind. No matter who wore the crown, so as the fire dims, and this part of our journey closes, we ask, what stories do we forget? when we focus only on those who ruled? What echoes still whisper in the hills, long after the kings and queens fall silent? Listen closely now to the whispers of the wind. Feel the earth beneath your feet, rich with stories untold. This is the Madagascar that time forgot, but the land remembers. In the fading light of dusk, women with weathered hands and bright head wraps tend to the rice paddies. Their movements are a dance, practiced and precise, passed down through generations. The water reflects the sky's fiery hues, turning their world into a canvas of gold and crimson. Not far from the paddies, an old herbalist sits cross-legged before her clay pots, her fingers gnarled like ancient tree roots. Sort through leaves and bark with the certainty of one who speaks the language of plants. Each remedy she prepares is a poem, a prayer, a piece of wisdom distilled from the very essence of the land. Children's laughter carries on the breeze, a melody as timeless as the hills themselves. They dart between tall spears of grass, playing games whose rules were set long before their grandparents were born. Their bare feet know every dip and rise of the earth, every hidden stream and sacred stone. Standing sentinel over this scene are the wooden ancestor totems, their faces worn smooth by wind and rain and countless reverent touches. They are the bridge between worlds, between what was and what is, between the seen and unseen realms that shape Malagasy life. This is a world where time moves to a different rhythm, where the cycle of seasons dictates more than any calendar ever could, where knowledge is passed, not through books, but through stories told around flickering fires, through songs hummed while pounding grain, through the very act of living in harmony with the land. In the villages nestled among these rolling hills, elders are living libraries. Their wrinkled faces map out histories no scholar has ever recorded. When they speak, it is with the weight of centuries behind their words. They remember the names of trees, long since felled, the paths of rivers that have changed course, the secrets of stars that guided their ancestors home. Here, magic is not the stuff of fairy tales, but woven into the fabric of everyday life. It's in the way a farmer whispers to his seeds as he plants them, in the intricate patterns women weave into their baskets, in the drums that beat out messages across valleys when the moon is full, as night falls, and cooking fires flicker to life. The air fills with the aroma of cassava and wild herbs. Families gather, not around televisions or smartphones, but around the warmth of shared meals and shared stories. This is where legends are born, where heroes rise not with swords and shields, but with clever words and kind deeds. In these moments, as steam rises from clay pots and children lean in to hear tales they've heard 100 times before, the true power of Madagascar reveals itself. It's not in grand palaces or written laws, but in the unbreakable bonds of community, in the wisdom passed from elder to child, in the reverence for a land that gives life and meaning. This is a Madagascar that tourists rarely see, that history books often overlook. It's a world where the boundary between the physical and spiritual is as thin as morning mist, where ancestors are as present as the living, where every rock and tree has a story to tell. As moonlight bathes the hills in silver, and the spear grass whispers secrets to the stars, we're reminded that true wealth isn't measured in gold or territory. It's found in the richness of tradition, in the depth of connection to place and people, in the resilience of a culture that bends like grass in the wind but never breaks. For centuries, as empires rose and fell, as flags changed and borders shifted, this hidden heart of Madagascar kept beating. It survived not through force or conquest, but through the quiet strength of ordinary lives lived with extraordinary purpose. In the laughter of children splashing in clear streams, in the songs of women working side by side in the fields, in the steady hands of craftsmen shaping wood and stone, we find a different kind of royalty. These are the true keepers of Madagascar's soul, the guardians of a heritage more precious than any crown jewels. As dawn breaks over the misty hills, painting the world in soft pinks and golds, we're reminded that this cycle of life and memory has repeated countless times. Each sunrise is both an echo of all that has come before and a promise of all that is yet to be. The speargrass still sways, catching the first light of day. It holds the whispers of countless generations, the dreams of those who have walked these paths, the hopes of those yet to come. In its gentle movement, we see the resilience of a people who have faced hardship and change, but never lost touch with who they truly are. So, as we leave this hidden world, this Madagascar beneath the Madagascar of history books and tourist brochures, we carry with us a profound truth. The real story of a place, of a people, is not always found in grand events or famous names. It lives in the quiet moments, in the daily rituals, in the bonds between people and the land they call home. We've breathed the air scented with wild lemongrass. We've heard the songs carried on ancient winds. We've witnessed a power that doesn't need thrones or armies to endure. And in doing so, we've glimpsed the true heart of Madagascar. Beaten strong and steady, hidden in plain sight among the swayings. As the journey continues and new chapters unfold, remember this: there are always stories beneath the stories, worlds within worlds, and sometimes the most profound truths are found not in the pages of history, but in the whispers of the wind and the wisdom of those who listen. Let us leave behind the throne rooms now. Let us step away from queens and governors and walk instead toward the firelight. Because deep in the rural folds of Madagascar, beyond the hills and banana groves, there are villages that speak with smoke. Villages that hold memory not in books, but in flames. You do not visit such a village. You arrive, and when you do, your footsteps are heard by the ground itself. This is Famada country, land of the turning bones, where the dead do not sleep forever, they dance. Imagine this: a breeze cuts through the valleys of Betsilio or Marina land. Families begin to gather, not for mourning, but for celebration, because once every few years, the dead are exhumed from the tombs, not to be disturbed, but to be embraced, wrapped in fresh lambas, beautiful silk cloths, and lifted high into the air. Bones and ancestors are paraded with singing, clapping, laughter, and tears. It is not a funeral, it is a reunion, and it is one of the most sacred rites in all of Malagasy culture. Let's pause here for a moment. The fire crackles softly, and we rest beneath the stars. What kind of people turn grief into a celebration? A people who refuse to forget. For the Malagasy, the ancestors are never gone. They are consulted in decisions, prayed to before travel, honored with rice, rum, and song. And so the tombs, or fasana, are not eerie places. They are homes, made of stone, decorated with family symbols, built not to hide death, but to house it with dignity. No wonder colonial missionaries were unnerved. They could not understand why families would laugh while handling skulls, why children were allowed to help unwrap the bones. But this was not morbid, it was sacred. In some ceremonies, bones are danced with. In others, songs are composed to honor the recently departed. Families spend months preparing the feast. Zebu meat, sweet rice, banana beer, not just for themselves, but for the ancestors, who are said to taste with the wind. Some even believe the dead bless crops more richly after being turned. Let's pause here for a moment. The fire crackles softly, and we rest beneath the stars. It's said that when the bones are turned, the ancestors listen. So in that moment, music swirling, bones in your arms, you speak. You tell them of new births, of lost jobs, of marriages and migrations. You confess, you thank, you beg, because the bond is not broken, it is only wrapped, like the bones themselves, in cloth, in song, in soil. So what kind of people turn their tombs into temples? The kind who know that memory is not for storage, it is for sharing. The kind who understand that to remember is to resurrect, and that, in a village called Fire, the dead are never cold. As night falls, the village comes alive with a different kind of energy. Shadows dance on weathered walls, cast by flames that have burned for generations. Here, in this place where time seems to fold in on itself, the veil between worlds grows thin. Listen closely, and you might hear whispers on the wind, stories passed down through centuries, carried on the breath of those long gone. The air is thick with the scent of burning wood, spiced meat, and something older, something that speaks of earth and bone and memory. Children gather around elders, eyes wide with wonder as tales of ancestors unfold. These are not ghost stories meant to frighten, but legends that bind families together across the chasm of time. In their eyes, you can see the flicker of recognition, the understanding that they, too, are part of this unbroken chain. As the night deepens, drums begin to pulse, slow at first, like a heartbeat awakening, then faster, more insistent. Feet start to move, almost of their own accord. Bodies sway, caught in the rhythm of something ancient and powerful. This is not a dance of sorrow or loss. It is a celebration of continuity, of life that refuses to be contained by the boundaries of flesh and time. Young and old move together, their steps echoing those who danced on this very ground centuries ago. In the firelight, faces shine with sweat and joy. Laughter mingles with the music, rising up to the star-studded sky. There is no fear here, no shrinking from the reality of death. Instead, there is an embrace of the full cycle of existence. Birth, life, death, and rebirth. As dawn approaches, the energy shifts. The frenzy of dance gives way to a quieter communion. Families gather close, sharing food and drink with each other and with the spirits of those who have gone before. Offerings are placed before the tombs, not as appeasement, but as gifts of love and remembrance. In these moments, the boundaries between past and present, living and dead, seem to blur. A grandmother reaches out to touch the wrapped bones of her own grandmother, tears mingling with a smile of recognition. A child places a small toy beside the remains of a long-lost sibling, an offering of play across the divide of years. This is not a mournful vigil, but a joyous reunion. Stories are shared, not in hushed tones, but with laughter and animated gestures. The dead are spoken of in the present tense, as if they might walk into the circle at any moment to join the conversation. And perhaps, in a way, they do. For in this place, in this moment, the ancestors are as real and present as the living. Their wisdom guides decisions, their love comforts in times of trouble, their approval is sought in moments of triumph. As the first rays of sun touch the horizon, painting the sky in shades of pink and gold, there is a collective sigh. Not of relief that the night is over, but of contentment, of completion. The ceremony may be ending, but the connection forged here will endure. Slowly, reverently, the bones are rewrapped in their silken shrouds. They are carried back to the tombs, not with heavy hearts, but with the lightness that comes from knowing this is not a final goodbye. It is simply, until next time. The tombs are sealed, but they are not forgotten. They stand as silent sentinels, housing not just bones, but the very essence of family, of culture, of identity. Each stone, each carving tells a story of lives lived, of wisdom gained, of love that transcends the boundaries of mortality. As families begin to disperse, returning to homes and fields and the rhythms of daily life, something has changed. The air feels charged, alive with possibility. The connection to the past, so vividly renewed, becomes a bridge to the future. Children run ahead, laughing, already planning for the next Famada. The elders follow more slowly, their steps steady with the weight of tradition and the lightness of spirits renewed. In their eyes, you can see the reflection of countless such gatherings, stretching back through time. And so, as we leave this village called Fire, we carry with us a profound truth, that death is not an end, but a transformation. That memory is not a burden, but a gift. That love, properly tended, can burn across lifetimes. The smoke rises, carrying messages to those who have gone before. The ground remembers the steps of the dance, and in the hearts of the living, the fire of connection burns bright and eternal. This is the legacy of Famadahana, not just a ceremony, but a way of seeing the world. A reminder that we are all part of something greater than ourselves, a tapestry woven of lives past, present, and yet to come. As we return to our own lives, may we carry with us a spark of that sacred fire. May we remember that our ancestors walk beside us, that our stories are never truly finished, and that love, like the flames that light the Malagasy night, can warm us long after the embers have cooled. For in a village called Fire, the light never truly goes out. It simply waits, patient and eternal, for the next generation to fan it into brilliant life once more. Let us step closer now, not just to the flames, but to the sacred dust beneath our feet, because here, in this place of Famadahana, ritual does not begin with a drumbeat. It begins with a whisper. Before the ceremony begins, a messenger is sent to the tombs to ask permission. Yes, even the bones must be warned, because death in Madagascar is not an exile. It is a status, and the dead must be treated like elders still present in the home. A few days later, the village begins to stir. Men and women rise early to clean the tombs. Children carry palm branches and red cloths. A cow is slaughtered, not in grief, but in gratitude. The tombs are unlocked. The air grows still, and one by one, the ancestors are removed, gently, carefully, as if waking them from sleep. Let's pause here for a moment. The fire crackles softly, and we rest beneath the stars. The first bone is lifted. Gasps echo through the valley. Some weep, some sing, some stand, silently, hand on heart. As the Lamba Mina, the red funeral cloth, is wrapped around each ancestor anew. And then the dance begins. Yes, the dance. The dead are held above the shoulders, carried through the village with music and rhythm. Accordion, guitar, even brass bands in modern times. The living swirl through dust clouds, singing their families' praises. It's not for tourists, it's for the lineage. This is not theater, this is testimony. Testimony that the past breathes, that the departed still bless the soil and the womb. That death did not end the family, it expanded it. Sometimes, during Famadahana, a woman will whisper to the bones of her grandmother, "We've named the baby after you. The drought is hard. Help us. I forgive you." Because the bones are not just memory, they are witness. Let's pause here for a moment. The fire crackles softly, and we rest beneath the stars. And as dusk falls, the ancestors are placed back into the tombs, not buried, returned. They are sung to sleep once more. Their lambas are fresh. Their names have been spoken. They are not forgotten. And for another few years, they will rest, until the drums return and the bones are turned again. In the quiet of the night, as the embers of the fire fade, we reflect on the sacred dance of life and death. The Famadahana, this turning of the bones, is more than a ritual. It is a bridge between worlds. Listen closely to the whispers on the wind. They carry the voices of generations, echoing through time like ripples on still water. The village sleeps now, but the air is alive with memory. Each breath we take mingles with the breath of those who came before. In this land, the veil between the living and the dead is gossamer thin. Imagine, if you will, the weight of history in your hands. The smooth, worn surface of bone, once cradled in the womb, now cradled by descendants. Feel the texture of the lamba mina against your skin, soft as a mother's touch, red as the earth that gives life. It is a cloth woven with stories, dyed with the essence of belonging. The moon rises, casting silver light on the village. Shadows dance like memories, fleeting yet eternal in the cosmic dance of existence. In the distance, a night bird calls. Its song is a lullaby for both the living and the dead, a melody that transcends the boundaries of time. Close your eyes and breathe deeply. The scent of incense lingers, mingling with the earthy aroma of freshly turned soil. Let your mind wander to the tombs, where ancestors rest in their renewed garments. They are not gone, merely waiting for the next turning. The village children dream of the day's events, their young minds weaving new threads into the tapestry of tradition. In their sleep, they dance with grandparents they never knew in life. As we drift towards slumber, let us ponder the cycle of existence. Birth, life, death, not linear, but circular. In Madagascar, the circle is unbroken. The stars above bear witness to our reverence. They have seen countless turnings of the bones, countless reunions of the living and the dead. In the quiet hours before dawn, the ancestors whisper their wisdom. Listen closely, and you might hear their counsel in the rustle of leaves, in the gentle sigh of the wind through the grass. The village rests, but the earth beneath our feet is alive with stories. Each grain of sand, each blade of grass, holds the memory of those who have walked this land before. As sleep beckons, imagine the comfort of knowing that death is not an end, but a transformation. In this place, love transcends the grave. The fire has died now, leaving only the faintest glow. But in the darkness, we are not alone. We are surrounded by the warmth of generations. Let the rhythm of your breath align with the pulse of the earth. In this moment, you are connected to all who have come before, and all who will follow. The night deepens, and with it, our connection to the unseen world. In your dreams, you may dance with the ancestors, feel the joy of reunion, the solace of forgiveness. As consciousness fades, hold on to the image of the lambami. Let its vibrant red be a beacon in your dreams, guiding you through the realms of sleep and memory. The village sleeps, and so do the ancestors in their tombs. But in the space between waking and dreaming, we are all one family, bound by love and remembrance. Rest now, knowing that you are part of something greater than yourself, a lineage that stretches back through time and forward into a future yet unwritten. Let the peace of Famadahana settle over you like a blanket. In this moment, you are both the dreamer and the dream, both the living and the remembered. As sleep claims you, remember. In Madagascar, death is not goodbye. It is simply ... until we meet again. And so we rest, cradled in the arms of tradition, lulled by the whispers of those who came before. The night passes, stars wheel overhead, and we dream of the next turning of the bones, when once again the veil will lift, and we will dance with our ancestors under the Malagasy sky. Sleep now, and know that you are never truly alone. For in this land of whispers and bones, every breath is a prayer, every heartbeat a drum, calling us home to the eternal dance of life and death. Let the fire burn low now. Let the silence stretch just a little longer, because what comes next is not loud, but deeply, defiantly alive. The story of Famadihana is not just a story of celebration. It is a story of resistance. In the 1800s, when European missionaries arrived in Madagascar, they saw the turning of the bones as a blasphemy. They called it ancestor worship. They said it was unchristian. They wrote laws, threatened jail time, preached against it in churches, but the Malagasy people didn't stop. They adapted. Some hid their ceremonies, doing them at night or in the countryside. Others mixed in hymns and church prayers, folding Christianity into the folds of the lamba. They found a way, because honoring the dead was never optional. It was how you remained human. In the shadows of night, torches flicker through tall grass. Villagers move silently, their faces illuminated by dancing flames. The air is thick with anticipation and the scent of earth. In a clearing, two worlds collide. The haunting melody of a church hymn intertwines with the primal beat of traditional drums. Families gather around an open tomb, their eyes bright with joy and reverence. Nearby, faded colonial papers flutter in the breeze. Bold letters warn against pagan rites, but the wind carries away their hollow threats. For here, in this sacred space, the living and the dead reunite. Hands reach out to touch weathered bones, wrapping them tenderly in vibrant lamba. Laughter mingles with tears, as stories are shared, and the ancestors are welcomed home once more. Let's pause here for a moment. The fire crackles softly, and we rest beneath the stars. In the 20th century, politics tried again to stop it. Madagascar's leaders, under pressure from the West, attempted to paint Famadihana as backward, a rural relic unfit for modern Africa. Even public health officials got involved, warning that touching the dead could spread disease. But the elders said, "The real disease is forgetting who you are." They taught the children. They saved the music. They passed on the rituals in whispers, stories, and songs. And the drums kept beating through decades of change, through whispered warnings and official decrees. The rhythm persisted. It echoed in the hearts of grandmothers teaching little ones to dance. It thrummed in the careful hands of fathers showing sons how to wrap the bones. It pulsed in the veins of a people who refused to let go of their connection to the past. Today, Famadihana is legal again, celebrated, documented, even filmed by grandchildren who upload it to TikTok and Facebook. But it's not for show. In truth, the ceremony is now more sacred than ever, because it survived everything thrown at it. Colonialism, religion, war, globalization, and still, the bones are turned, the names are spoken, the people dance. A young woman's face is bathed in the blue light of her phone screen. She stands at the edge of a gathering, live streaming to followers across the globe. Her modern device captures an ancient rite, bridging worlds separated by oceans and time. From above, drone footage reveals a tapestry of movement. Dirt roads wind through lush green hills, dotted with the colorful specks of families converging from distant villages. They come on foot, by ox cart, in battered trucks, drawn by an invisible thread of memory and obligation. A teenage boy kneels beside a tomb, his hand steady as he unfolds a length of crimson cloth. With reverence, he drapes it over sun-bleached bones. For a moment, his eyes flick towards the camera his cousin holds, a fleeting acknowledgement of the present. But then his gaze returns to his task, lost in the weight of tradition. As night falls, the celebration truly begins. Bodis move in a hypnotic circle, bare feet pounding the earth in time with drums that seem to shake the very stars. At the center, a bonfire throws sparks high into the inky sky. Faces shine with sweat and joy, illuminated in flashes that reveal the timelessness of this moment. Let's pause here for a moment. The fire crackles softly, and we rest beneath the stars. And maybe, just maybe, the dead are not watching with disapproval. Maybe they are dancing too, grateful to be remembered, grateful that their people never forgot. Because in Madagascar, you do not mourn the dead by letting go. You honor them by holding on. In the quiet after the dance, as embers glow and the night air cools damp skin, there's a sense of completion, of a circle closed, a promise kept. Families gather close, sharing food and laughter, the boundary between living and dead blurred by love and memory. Children doze in grandparents' laps, lulled by the same stories that have been told for generations. Young couples steal glances across the dying fire, their hands intertwined, feeling the weight of their shared heritage. Elders sit in comfortable silence. The stars wheel overhead, witnesses to a tradition that has endured against all odds. In cities far away, laws may change and cultures shift, but here, in this sacred space, time stands still. The ancestors' presence is palpable, their wisdom woven into every gesture, every song. As dawn approaches, the last of the revelers make their way home. They carry with them more than memories of a night of celebration. They carry the strength of their ancestors, the resilience of their culture, the unbreakable bonds of family that stretch beyond the veil of death. The tombs are sealed once more, but they are not places of endings. They are waypoints, markers in an endless cycle of remembrance and renewal, until the next Farmadahana, when once again the bones will be turned, the stories retold, the dancers danced. For now, the drums fall silent, but their echo lives on in the hearts of the Malagasy people. It beats in time with their footsteps as they return to fields and factories, to classrooms and offices. It whispers in their dreams and guides their choices. The fire has burned low. The night stretches long, but in this silence, in this pause between heartbeats, the spirit of Farmadahana lives on. Defiant, alive, a testament to the power of memory, the strength of tradition, and the enduring human need to connect with those who came before. As the first light of dawn breaks over Madagascar's hills, it illuminates a land where the past is never truly gone, where ancestors walk beside the living, their wisdom a constant guide, where death is not an ending, but a transition, a chance to dance once more with those we love. The ceremony may be over, but its essence lingers. In the red earth beneath our feet, in the stories passed down through generations, in the very air we breathe. For in Madagascar, you do not say goodbye to the dead. You simply say, until we meet again, and somewhere beyond sight, but never beyond reach, the ancestors smile. They know they are remembered. They know they are loved. They know that when the time comes, the drums will beat once more, and the dance will begin anew. In the heart of Madagascar, where the earth bleeds red and whispers ancient tales, we find a story etched in stone. A story of life, death, and the unbreakable bonds that tie generations together. By the end of this journey, you'll understand why in Madagascar, a tomb is not just a resting place, ... It is a home, a monument, a promise kept across generations. Let's return now to the highlands, where the earth is red like iron, and the wind carries more names than stories. Here, the Mahafali and the Ontandroy clans, carved tombs that outlive kingdoms. These are not humble graves, not hidden plots, but towering stone monuments. as bold as fortresses, as loud as the ancestors deserve. Before a child is even born, the family is already thinking of their tomb. It begins with coral rock, dragged from the distant coast on ox-drawn carts. The journey is long, arduous, a pilgrimage of sorts. Sometimes, years of savings go into one ceremonial boulder. Each block hauled is a chapter of sacrifice. Cattle sold, land bartered, debts forgiven, labor gifted, and above these coral bones, they build layer upon layer of symbolic life. The process is slow, deliberate, each stone placed with reverence, each carving a prayer to those who came before. Picture, if you will, an unturned tomb under construction. Coral stone blocks, pale and porous, stacked with careful precision. An elder, his face etched with the wisdom of years, oversees a group of youth. Their hands, calloused and strong, carve ancestral symbols into the tomb wall. Each stroke of their tools is a connection to the past, a bridge to the future. Nearby, a family watches as oxen strain against their yokes, pulling a massive coral boulder uphill. The air is thick with dust and determination. In the distance, a herd of cattle grazes peacefully, unaware that they too are part of this grand design, their lives intertwined with the future tomb feast. Every tomb is adorned with alo carved wooden poles that reach skyward like antennae to the spirit world. These are not mere decorations, but storytellers, guardians, bridges between the living and the dead. Some alo tells stories. A hunter's greatest kill, his spear forever poised in wood. A woman's powerful dream, her visions spiraling up the pole in intricate patterns. A journey across oceans, waves, and distant shores carved into the grain. Others are more mysterious, painted with stars that seem to twinkle in the firelight, masks that shift and change with the shadows, lovers eternally embraced, their forms blending into one another. Zebus proud and strong, symbols of wealth and sacrifice, and sometimes warnings, grim faces and sharp edges that speak to those who might disrespect the dead. The builders take no shortcuts. Their work is measured not in days or weeks, but in seasons, in years. Because a poorly built tomb is not just an embarrassment, it is a curse waiting to fall. Every stone must be perfect, every carving true. The ancestors are watching, and their judgment is eternal. And here's the most breathtaking part. Some tombs are never finished in a single generation. A father may begin it, his hands rough from a lifetime of labor, his dreams as vast as the Malagasy sky. His son might continue, adding new stones, new stories, his own hopes blending with those of his father. His grandson may be the one to finally complete the vision, placing the last stone atop a structure that has grown alongside him since birth. This is architecture as legacy, not for the living, but for the unborn. A promise whispered in stone, carried through decades. Because in Malagasy belief, you are born from your ancestors' bones, and you return to them with honor, wrapped not just in cloth, but in the memory of everything your family built. The tomb is not an end, but a beginning, a continuation of a story that stretches back to the very dawn of time. Imagine, for a moment, 3 generations of men. Their faces bear the same strong jawline, the same determined set to their eyes. Together, they place the final stone atop a tomb that has been their family's work for nearly a century. The oldest man's hands shake slightly, but his grip is sure. The youngest looks on in awe, understanding for the first time the weight of his inheritance. As twilight falls, a ceremony begins. Elders gather, their voices rising in blessing for the newly finished tomb. Smoke from sacred herbs curls around the alo, carrying prayers to the ancestors. The carved poles seem to come alive in the fading light, their stories dancing in the shadows. Look closer at one of these. Its surface is a map of history, depicting a great migration. Tiny figures move across the wood, their journey from a distant land etched in loving detail. This is not just decoration, it is memory made tangible. A family's entire history contained in a single piece of art. Now, let your gaze widen. The hills stretch out before you, red earth glowing in the last light of day. Dozens of tombs, the landscape, each one a testament to love, to sacrifice, to the unbreakable bonds of family. Some are weathered by centuries, others gleam with fresh paint. All are cherished. Let's pause here for a moment. The fire crackles softly, and we rest beneath the stars. The night air is cool, carrying the scent of earth and distant rain. Above us, the Milky Way stretches across the sky, a river of light connecting us to something greater than ourselves. A tomb, then, is not an end. It is a beginning. It is a reminder carved into coral that no one leaves alone, that no one is forgotten, that family ... is forever. In the silence of the night, if you listen closely, you might hear the whispers of the ancestors. They speak of journeys taken, of hardships endured, of love that transcends death itself. Their stories are written in stone, in wood, in the very land itself. The tombs stand as silent sentinels, guardians of memory. They are more than monuments. They are promises. Promises to remember, to honor, to continue the legacy of those who came before. As dawn breaks over the highlands, painting the sky in shades of gold and rose, the tombs catch the first light. They seem to glow from within, as if the spirits of the ancestors themselves are stirring. Another day begins. Families will gather to tend the tombs, to share stories, to reaffirm their connections to the past and to each other. Children will learn the names of their ancestors, tracing the carvings with small fingers, absorbing the weight of history. And somewhere, a new tomb will begin. A first stone will be laid, a first aloalo carved. The cycle continues, unbroken, eternal as the red earth itself. This is Madagascar, where death is not an end, but a homecoming, where every tomb is a testament to love that outlasts lifetimes, where the past and the future meet in monuments of coral and wood and memory. As we leave this place, carry with you the wisdom of the tomb builders. Remember that we are all part of something greater than ourselves, that our actions echo through generations, that in the end, it is not what we take with us that matters, but what we leave behind. Let the gentle rhythms of the land lull you now, the soft whisper of wind through the grass, the distant lowing of cattle, the steady heartbeat of a culture that knows the true meaning of forever. Close your eyes and let the stories of Madagascar's tombs guide you into dreams of red earth and starlit skies, of ancestors watching over their children with eternal love. There is a day in Madagascar when time bends, when the wall between the living and the dead opens, not with fear, but with joy. It is called Fama, the turning of the bones. And on this day, the ancestors dance. The morning air is thick with anticipation. Families emerge from their homes, adorned in vibrant lambas, their finest traditional garments. Women's hair is intricately braided, each style a testament to generations of skill passed down. Men carry drums and flutes, their rhythms already pulsing through the village. Children clutch baskets of food, eyes wide with excitement and reverence. This is no ordinary gathering. This is a reunion that transcends mortality. As the sun climbs higher, cattle are led to slaughter. Their sacrifice will feed both the living and the dead. Rice simmers in enormous pots, its aroma mingling with incense and the earthy scent of crushed herbs. Elders carefully wrap gifts, new clothes, jewelry, even cell phones, items to comfort those who have passed beyond the veil of this world. The mood shifts as midday approaches. Laughter fades to hushed whispers. The procession begins, winding its way through narrow paths towards the family tombs. Feet move in time to a rhythm as old as the island itself. Stone lids, weathered by countless seasons, are slowly pulled aside. Inside, silk-wrapped bundles rest. These are not mere relics. These are grandmothers, uncles, children taken too soon. Hands reach in, not with clinical detachment, but with tenderness. There are no masks, no sterile gloves. This is an embrace across time. The air grows heavy with the scent of rum poured in libation. Incense smoke curls upward, a bridge between realms, and then, as if summoned by an unseen force, the music swells. Drums, thunder, flute, trill, and the dance. Oh, the dance begins. Elders cradle bones as if they were newborns, swaying to melodies that have echoed through centuries. Tears flow freely, but so does laughter. This is not a time of mourning, but of joyous reunion. A grandmother spins, her wrinkled hands cradling a skull. She whispers secrets, shares village gossip from the years since their last meeting. A young man holds the remains of the grandfather he never knew, feeling a connection that defies logic but resonates in his very marrow. Children watch, wide-eyed, as their parents dance with ancestors. This is how they learn that death is not an ending, but a transition. That those who came before are never truly gone. To outsiders, it might seem macabre, but to the Malagasy, this is the essence of family, of community, of an unbroken chain, stretching back to the dawn of time. No one is forgotten on this day. The aunt who told the best stories, the uncle whose laugh could shake the rafters, the wise great-grandmother, the infant cousin who barely drew breath, all are welcomed back into the circle of the living. Old grievances crumble like dust. The bones of those who quarreled in life now dance together, finding peace in the music of eternity. New promises are whispered against weathered skulls. We remember you, they say. You are still part of us. As twilight paints the sky in shades of amber and indigo, candles flicker to life around the tombs. Their glow softens the lines between this world and the next. Teens dance beside faded portraits of ancestors they know only through stories. An elderly woman, her face a map of a life, twirls with silk-wrapped remains, her movements as graceful as they were in her youth. The entire community gathers, a living, breathing organism pulsing with shared memory and hope. This is more than tradition. It is the very heartbeat of their culture. Hours pass like moments. The moon rises, casting silver light on the celebration. But even the most joyous reunions must end. With infinite care, bones are rewrapped in fresh silk. New gifts are tucked alongside them. Gently, reverently, they are returned to their stone resting places. As the tombs are resealed, there are no goodbyes. Instead, there are promises. Until we dance again, they murmur, until the drums call you home once more. In this sacred ritual, death loses its sting. It becomes not an ending, but a pause. Not a severing, but a transformation of the bond between the living and those who have passed beyond. The ancestors are not gone. They are simply resting, their spirits nourished by love and remembrance, waiting for the next Famadahana, when they will rise again to celebrate with their descendants. As families make their way home in the pre-dawned light, there is a sense of completion, of cycles honored and connections renewed. The veil between worlds may have closed, but the thread that binds generations remains unbroken. Tomorrow, life will resume its normal rhythms, but today, Today, time bent. Today, the ancestors danced. And in that dance, past and present, life and death, joy and sorrow all swirled together in a celebration of what it truly means to be human. To remember, to honor, to love beyond the boundaries of mortality. This is Famadahana. This is the day the bones come home. In Madagascar, there are forests you do not enter without permission. Not from a chief, but from the spirits who still walk there. These are not ghost stories. They are rules of survival, because the land remembers, and the dead, especially the disrespected, do not forget. Across the island, you'll hear whispers of the Kalanoro, small, ancient, wild-haired beings with backward feetwo live deep in the forest. They are said to be keepers of forgotten knowledge, or remnants of old ancestors who never moved on, and while most laugh it off, those who live near sacred groves, near ancestral tombs, hidden beneath banyan trees, do not joke. It is in these places that the taboos, known as Fadi, rule. You don't point at tombs. You don't wear red near certain trees. You don't speak names of the dead while laughing. Why? Because the veil is thin. The ancestors are listening. And when they are pleased, your crops grow tall. Your children stay healthy. Your cattle multiply. But when they are offended, a sickness comes that no doctor can name. A madness, a drought, or dreams that leave your soul unsettled for weeks. So families return. They bring food to the forest. They burn leaves and pour rum for the spirits. They send the child who talks to dreams, or the elder who speaks in riddles. They ask, what have we forgotten? What must we remember? This segment of life, this respect for the invisible, binds the Malagasy people to something deeper than time. It is why the forests are not just ecosystems. They are archives of the soul. It is why every ritual, every silence, every burial is done with full heart, because you are never alone here. Not truly. In the misty, sacred Malagasy forest, dense foliage conceals ancient secrets. Hidden tombs lie beneath gnarled fig roots. Guardians of ancestral memories, a spiritual healer moves with reverence, placing offerings at the foot of a towering tree. Children watch from a distance, their eyes wide with wonder and respect. The air is thick with unseen presences, whispers of those who came before. Each step on this hallowed ground is a conversation with eternity. The forest breathes with the weight of centuries, each leaf a page in an unwritten history. Here, the past and present intertwine, like vines climbing toward the canopy. In clearings bathed in dappled sunlight, traditional Malagasy offering bowls appear. Rice, rum, and fragrant herbs rest on mosque offered forest altars. A teenage boy kneels in trance, his consciousness bridging worlds. Nearby, an elderly woman chants softly, burning leaves that release sacred smoke. The forest absorbs their prayers, carrying them to realms beyond mortal reach. Every gesture, every murmured word is a thread in the tapestry of belief. Time moves differently here, measured not in hours, but in heartbeats. The rhythm of the forest pulses with the collective memory of generations. As night falls, shadows deepen, and the veil between worlds grows thin. The Kalanoro emerge from hidden hollows, their backward feet leaving curious tracks. They dance in moonlit glades, keepers of wisdom long forgotten by men. Their wild hair catches starlight as they whisper secrets to the wind. In villages on the forest's edge, elders gather to share stories, tales of encounters with spirits, passed down through countless lifetimes. They speak of times when crops failed, when children fell ill with strange fevers, of dreams that haunted waking hours. Until proper respects were paid, young ones listen with rapt attention, learning the ways of their ancestors. For in this land, survival depends on honoring what cannot be seen. Morning mist clings to the treetops as families make their way into the forest. They come bearing gifts and apologies, seeking to mend bridges with the unseen. A father carries a bowl of fresh fruit, his daughter clutches fragrant flowers, a grandmother leads the way, her weathered hands steady on her walking stick. They approach a massive banyan tree, its roots forming natural chambers. Here, they know, their ancestors rest, watching over the living with timeless eyes. The grandmother kneels with difficulty, her joints creaking like old wood. She places the offerings with care, murmuring words of respect and love. The father pours rum at the tree's base, watching it seep into the thirsty earth. The daughter scatters flower petals, their colors bright against the forest floor. As they perform these ancient rites, the air grows heavy with expectation. Leaves rustle without a breeze, and shadows seem to shift and dance. The grandmother's eyes grow distant, as if seeing beyond the veil. She speaks in riddles and half-remembered songs, her voice carrying the weight of ages. The father and daughter listen intently, straining to understand the messages. For in her words lie clues to appease the spirits, to restore balance to their world. As the sun climbs higher, the forest seems to exhale. A sense of peace settles over the small group, a sign that their offerings have been accepted. They make their way home, footsteps lighter, hearts unburdened. For now, at least, they have remembered, they have honored, they have respected, but the work is never done, the balance always shifting. In Madagascar, life is a constant dialogue between the seen and the unseen. Every decision, every action ripples through both worlds. To live here is to walk a tightrope, always aware of watchful eyes, yet it is not a burden, but a blessing. To be connected to something greater, to feel the pulse of the earth and sky, to know that you are part of an unbroken chain. This is the gift of the Malagasy forests, of the spirits that wander there, a reminder that we are all threadsmen, a tapestry vaster than we can comprehend. As night falls once more, the forest settles into a different rhythm. Nocturnal creatures emerge, their calls echoing through the darkness. But listen closely, and you might heart soft laughter of the Kalinor, the whispered wisdom of ancestors, the heartbeat of a land alive with magic. For in Madagascar, the forests are more than just trees and earth and stone. They are the keepers of memory, the bridge between worlds, the place where spirits wander and the soul of a people endures. Beneath the hum of night, beneath the silence that cloaks the stars, there are memories moving like wind through grass. Not in the books, not in the museums, but in the bodies that once bled, in the hands that once worked, in the feet that walked barefoot across burning sand, to plant, to smelt, to sing, to survive. You've now walked the trails of Madagascar's unseen history. You've breathed the clove-laced air of early morning, watched a young girl pick the same spice as her grandmother did, not for wealth, but because the tree called her name. You felt the sting of smoke in an iron forge, where men vanished into fire to coax metal from stone with no machines, just ancient memory. And you followed whispers in the sacred forests, where rules are older than kings, and spirits ask for offerings, not permission. The sun sets over vast clove fields, painting the sky in hues of orange and purple. A blacksmith, his face etched with concentration, carefully removes glowing iron from an earthen furnace. In the fading light, a Malagasy elder kneels beside a forest grave, lighting candles with reverent hands. You may wonder, why does it matter? What does any of this have to do with me? lying in bed, trying to sleep in a noisy world. Because the bones remember even when we forget. The rhythms of the body, the ache in your back, the tension in your jaw, the dreams that wake you at 3 a.m., they're echoes. Echoes of ancestors who moved through hardship with grace, who turned sweat into songs, who buried their pain in laughter and lit fires with their stories. So, tonight, as your breath slows, as the rustle of baobab leaves returns to your thoughts, let this not just be a story. Let it be a grounding, a reminder that you come from people who knew how to endure, from hands that shaped the earth, from mouths that dared to sing. Rest now. You are part of something old and unfinished. And when you wake, carry that knowing into the day. You don't just inherit history, you extend it. The first light of dawn breaks over a majestic baobab tree, its branches reaching towards the sky like ancient fingers. A soft wind whispers through the leaves, carrying the scent of earth and time. Birds take flight, silhouetted against the pale morning sky, their wings cutting through the mist. In the quiet of this moment, feel the weight of generations settling into your bones, the calluses on your great-grandfather's hands, worn smooth by years of tilling the soil. The lullabies your grandmother hummed, passed down through centuries of mothers rocking their children to sleep. The fire in your father's eyes as he told tales of heroes and tricksters, keeping old wisdom alive. These stories are not just words. They are bridges spanning time, connecting you to those who came before, to the fisherman who read the tides like a book, to the healer who knew the secret language of plants, to the warrior who faced down colonizers with nothing but a spear and unbreakable spirit. Their blood runs in your veins, their courage beats in your heart, their dreams flicker behind your eyelids as you drift between worlds. And so, as the world wakes around you, remember, you are not alone. You are a living testament to survival, to adaptation, to the stubborn persistence of hope. Every breath you take is an act of defiance against those who would erase your history. Every step forward is a continuation of a journey begun long ago. In the markets where you haggle for fruit, in the fields where you tend your crops, in the classrooms where you shape young minds, you carry the echoes of 1,000 ancestors, their triumphs, their sorrows, their unfinished songs. Let their strength flow through you as you face the challenges of this new day. Let their wisdom guide your choices. Let their love for this land, for this people, fuel your own passion to preserve and protect what is precious. For you are not just a single person standing at the crossroads of past and future. You are a living bridge, a keeper of flame, a storyteller weaving new threads into an ancient tapestry. So go forth, child of Madagascar, go forth and write the next chapter of this unending tale. With every word you speak, every kindness you show, every tradition you honor, you breathe life into the bones of memory. And someday, long after you've returned to the earth, your own story will whisper through the grass. A gentle reminder to future generations that they too are part of something vast and beautiful and unfinished. For the bones, remember, and through you, through all of us, the story continues.